Our Gospel reading today is from John, chapter 1, verses 43 to 51. The next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and said to him, "Come with me." Philip was from Bethsaida, the town where Andrew and Peter lived. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one whom Moses wrote about in the book of the law, and whom the prophets also wrote about. He is Jesus, son of Joseph from Nazareth." "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" Nathanael asked. "Come and see," answered Philip. When Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him, he said about him, "Here is a real Israelite. There is nothing false in him." Nathanael asked him, "How do you know me?" Jesus answered, "I saw you when you were under the fig tree, before Philip called you." "Teacher," answered Nathanael, "you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." And Jesus said, "Do you believe just because I saw you under the fig tree? You will see much greater things than this." And he said to them, "I am telling you the truth. You will see heaven open and God's angels going up and coming down on the Son of Man."
How often have we missed an opportunity to introduce someone to Jesus? And is it because it doesn't come naturally to us? God can only communicate with those who know him. So those who don't know him or don't recognise him need someone to introduce them. The story of Philip introducing Nathanael to Jesus is simply that. He introduces him. It is Jesus who then convinces Nathanael that he is the promised Messiah, the one who was prophesied to save the nation. As in the story of Eli and Samuel we saw earlier, Samuel did not recognise that God was speaking to him. He needed the prompt from Eli. "When you hear the voice again, just respond, 'Speak, Lord, your servant is listening.'" And straight away, God speaks to Samuel. Samuel recognises God and he listens. So how can we do this today? Well, we can do it in the corporate way as a church, which we have done before. We did a couple of years ago. We organised a special service and we all tried to bring people along to that service so that they would get an introduction to God. But we could do it simply by talking about our faith in our everyday lives. I talk about my family because it's part of who I am. I talk about my business, running a shop selling musical instruments, because it's part of who I am. And in the same way, I talk about my Christian faith because it's part of who I am. And when we talk about our faith, sometimes God is using us to introduce someone else to him. And surely this is evangelism and mission at its very best. So why do we feel sometimes uncomfortable with it? Why do we shrink from this idea? Is it because we feel responsible for the outcome? If the person we talk about our faith to doesn't recognise Christ, have we failed? Have we let God down? You know, some years ago, our cleaner at the shop was on holiday, and we had a relief cleaner supplied by the agency. And the first time we met, she came down the stairs into the shop and said, "You're a Christian, aren't you?" And all I could reply was, "Well, yes, I am." I confess it did flash through my mind to say in that one moment, "Well, I do go to church, but actually I admitted, yes, I am, and was prepared to say I'm a Christian. Now, I have no idea what part that conversation played in her faith and her path to Christianity. Was it just affirmation of God's existence? Was it reassurance that she wasn't alone as a Christian? But I am sure it meant something. So don't hide who you are. Feel free to talk about your faith, and you may be the introduction that someone needs to Jesus. But don't feel responsible for their future relationship. Don't think that there is any more to do. That you can safely leave in God's hands.
We've just heard that God used Philip to introduce Nathanael to Jesus. So Philip was the enabler. I do believe that God has given me the gift of being happy to connect with people, perhaps be an enabler too. Of course, others have different gifts. We are not all the same, but He blesses us all when we live in His will. When I'm out and about, I ask God to direct my path, to help spread His word, and He does. I often strike up a chat with people just about anywhere. I have met some lovely people. It might be at a bus stop, in a shop, on a walk, and even overseas. No, I don't rush in, but wait for God to give me an opening when I feel it's right to speak about my faith and how I found it. I never know where people's journey will take them, but I hope and pray that perhaps God has enabled me to help them on their way.